Hello everyone and welcome to my review for Record of Ragnarok chapter 54. Since this is the first of two chapters this month and I read spoilers, I already know what's going to happen in the next chapter, so this review will probably be a little shorter than the one we're going to be getting for 55. One more thing, if you're watching this video and you're not already subscribed, you might as well to help us reach our subscriber goal for 2021, hitting 4,000 by the end of the year. I guarantee you that everyone who hasn't already subscribed, we would reach our goal in no time. So with that, let's get on with the review, shall we? We pick up with Buddha leaving the arena after his victory, and we see that his Voland Nirvana sword is melting away, so this resolves a potential plot hole that was brought up by the end of the last chapter, where Hajin died. We saw Zerafuku, disappearing off to Niflhel, and Buddha's Voland was still there. So it was like, is that a piece of Zero that's staying around? Is the thing going to disappear at the start of next chapter? Seems we've got the latter, so any of my concerns about that are rectified by this chapter. Now Buddha walks out of the arena. He talks about how it seems like everyone really loved Zerafuku, and we get this nice panel of him up in the sky with everyone praying to him. And then he's tying his hair back up and is using the handle of the Misery Cleaver as like a hairpin, and that's kind of funny. But then he collapses because, look at the guy. He has lost many milk cartons of blood. I don't know why I didn't just say gallons. I'm trying to be a little more creative with the visual comparisons here. But they're carrying him off to the sickbay on a stretcher. Brunhild thanks him for fighting for humanity. He asks for some candy. Brunhild says she'll send enough to give him cavities. And then Buddha says that he really likes how Brunhild's eyes are all stubborn and filled with worldly desire. And then he coughs up blood and they have to rush him off to the operation room. And it's left in question as to what exactly Buddha meant by that. Stubborn? Yeah, we already know that. We know Brunhild is stubborn about protecting humanity. But why? I think that's where the worldly desire aspect comes in. Brunhild is not protecting humanity for altruistic purposes. I think a lot of people have come to the conclusion by now that Brunhild is doing this to avenge, what the hell was his name? Siegfried, whatever the hell his name was. The guy who Brunhild was in love with in the myths. The human man who died. Because of bullshit involving the gods, if I remember correctly. So this is probably all either an act of revenge or fulfilling his dying wishes. Now we go over to Beelzebub, who is one of the more important people from the last fight due to Hajin existing, and we see that he is destroying all of his records about Hajin, pretty much destroying all evidence of his involvement in this. Now, there are multiple ways to look at this. One is that he's kind of a cowardly bitch, and the other is that he's just kind of prideful. And, yeah, prideful's probably the good one. So for the first one, obviously, people being like, where the fuck did that demon guy come from? Why did that happen to Zero? Well, now Beelzebub's gotten rid of any, material connections to that. He literally had the diagrams on how it worked. It seemed like he was taking notes while the whole thing was going on. So if anyone were to look into it, there would be no actual proof that he was involved. On the other hand, Hajin failed to kill Buddha, so in Beelzebub's mind, the Hajin experiment seems to have been a failure, and there's really no need to work on it anymore. So, fuck it. He's one of those scientific guys where probably failure is not a learning opportunity, it's just failure. And it means you need to do something else entirely as opposed to just working out the problems for what you've already done. Definitely big evil scientist vibes. Now, one of the more interesting parts of this chapter, to be fair, I would say 2 out of the 3 parts of this chapter are very interesting. Odin comes to see Beelzebub. And he knows. This was all you're doing. You were the one behind all of this shit. And Beelzebub doesn't say anything. He just keeps throwing out all the documents. And Odin doesn't do anything. He doesn't, like, accuse him of being evil or cowardly or saying that he's going to be punished for what he's done. The birds, the crows... Are they crows or ravens? I can't remember. Well, the birds start squawking at him, insulting him, saying he was doing weird experiments again and calling him a fucking creep. And then we see for the second time Odin's evil smile as he says that he's waited a long, long time in preparation for this battle, and he will permit no one to disrupt it. So when we got the leaks, I thought he may have been trying to conspire with him or something, because he said, like, I've waited a long time for this. But no, that's not really what's happening here. What he's saying is, I've waited a really long time for this tournament to happen. I don't want any outside interference. I'm not going to permit any of that stuff. So you better not try any more shit like this for the rest of the tournament, or we're going to have a problem. So, as I think some of us had suspected, Ragnarok was something that Odin has wanted, either something he had foreseen or planned to happen, and most interestingly, he doesn't want it to be interrupted, which is quite fascinating, because I was under the impression that he was going to maybe try and interrupt it in some way at some point, but no, it seems like he wants this thing to run its course in its entirety. So, clearly, there is something to the benefit of Odin if the tournament runs its course without any kind of interruption. And Beelzebub himself finds this very interesting. He's intrigued by the fact that Odin has wanted this tournament to happen for a long time. Not really intimidated by Odin, either because he's really strong with, I don't think Beelzebub's not as strong as Odin, let's be fucking real here. He just knows that Odin's probably not going to do anything. He's like, whatever. So he's just like, yeah, that's really interesting. Why would you say something like that? And Odin seems a little annoyed by this. I wonder why. I'm very curious as to exactly why that is. Anyway, the third and final part of this chapter. Hermes is taking a look at the scoreboard. We're all tied up again. Zeus is getting pissed off because humanity could take the lead. We're in the same situation we were at the end of round 4. So he's kind of pissed off again. And they're wondering who they should send out to replace Buddha. Because, this is something you actually have to take into consideration. We are now missing a fighter. We need someone to come in and replace him. So Hermes immediately thinks Ares for some reason. I don't know why. Because Ares has shown himself to be kind of low tier. Like, Heracles, before getting the 12 labors, would have eventually beaten him in a war of attrition. He's pretty low tier. He is probably the weakest god that we are aware of as, like, an actual character. But it has been thought that maybe Ares would go out to try and fight to avenge Heracles or something. And Ares is kind of nervous here. He's having an actual normal thought process here that, yeah, I'm a god of war, so it would make sense that they would expect a lot from me, but humans are actually really goddamn strong. I could be annihilated, but if I turn my back on this opportunity, my pride as a god of war will be tarnished. No, I have to do it. I have to go. And he makes this decision in a quarter of a second. And as he's stuttering, saying he'll go, Hades interrupts him and says he'll go. So a lot of people figured since Hades got introduced during the last round, he's this super badass-looking member of the Three Brothers of Olympus. His introduction has been teased for a while. He's clearly very powerful. Not even through any, direct sort of strength feat or something. It's just we know. Zeus is the strongest god we've seen in action so far. Poseidon is up there among the gods we've seen fight. It would only make sense that Hades, the oldest of the brothers, would be strong as hell too. He's one of the rulers of the Greek pantheon. So he says he'll go. He takes off his eye patch and shatters it in his hands, and says that this is revenge for his dear brother Poseidon. Now, interestingly, there doesn't seem to be anything weird under his eye patch, so I don't know why the fuck he was wearing it. I guess it's may have been kind of like a Kenpachi thing, or maybe he was just like, I felt like wearing an eye patch. It's like it's when a cartoon character has an eye patch, and then when something really shocking happens, they take it off to reveal there's just a normal eye under there. I don't know. But he's taken the eye patch off already. Very serious. He's out to avenge his brother Poseidon. Why? Because he's his brother. I mean, yeah, Poseidon was a huge dick, which is a bit of an understatement. There is stronger language I could use to describe Poseidon. However, there are a lot of cases where even though, you could have a family member murder another family member, like Poseidon did with Adamas, and people will still be like, yeah, but they're my family. I still love them. I still care about them. I don't want anything bad to happen to them. Is that kind of foolish? Yeah, it's actually really dumb. But still, it happens. So I think this is pretty natural on Hades' part, and it also shows Hades to be probably one of the better of his brothers. I mean, we know how bad Poseidon was, and Zeus didn't really seem to care that much about Poseidon being killed. His reaction was basically, oh well, I guess that human was stronger than Poseidon, and he seemed more pissed off about the fact that the gods had lost more than anything else, more than actually being upset about Poseidon dying as his brother. So, yeah, and this is in line with Hades generally being one of the better gods in Greek mythology, one of the less terrible. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm very excited to see this guy out in the field. I know for you guys who only read the translated chapters, you have no idea who is coming up next. You have no idea who his opponent is going to be. But, I'll just say that I'm betting on Hades. I think Hades is going to win. As cool as his opponent may or may not be, I think Hades has got this. So, yeah, with that is all I have to say about the first of this month's chapters. A little shorter than usual. The author did kind of do a lot of work for last month with having like 82 pages, all to release at once. So that's totally fine. We're probably going to get around this number of pages next month anyway, so I have no issue with this. So yeah, with that's all I have to say for my review of Record of Ragnarok Chapter 54. If you enjoyed, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. I do Record of Ragnarok chapter reviews every month, and my review for the next chapter is going to be out whenever the translation for it comes out. Could be later today, could be tomorrow, could be Friday. I have no idea. You should subscribe so you don't miss it whenever it does come out. If you enjoy discussing Record of Ragnarok with other people, or you just enjoy the content I produce on this channel, I highly suggest you check out my Discord server. I have a link to that down in the description. And of course, since it's the end of the video, it's time to give a shout out to my wonderful patrons. Special thanks to Neo, Fuse, Dijon Redden, Anthony Chavez, Honey Mustard, Zach Rowitz, K-God, Chris Redfield, Scratch23, Rat, Ryzen 4K, Artist, Mac Campaign, Wave of Manga, and Sam the Ace. Thank you all very much for supporting me on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. And if you too want to get a shout out at some point in the video, or access to reviews for Solo Leveling and The Boxer, you can always become a patron as well. There's a link to my Patreon down in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys around. Take care.